Okay, guys, I understand. I know y'all are going to go to the comment section and tell me, Mason, you're stupid. It is spring training. Mason, you're stupid. These players have only seen 16, 18, 20 at-bats. What are you doing talking about them? And pretty much, I just want to say I'm excited. We have baseball. We have spring training. I want to talk about some standout performances through the first few games. And I'm actually going to get to go to some spring training games very soon, driving to Florida from Texas starting tomorrow. So we are going to go see some spring training games. I want to talk about what is going on right now, even if it doesn't make a major difference in who you're going to be drafting in your fantasy baseball drafts. Still fun to talk about these standout players. Still fun to just follow and track baseball. But before we get into it, guys, if you all have not already, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and more importantly, leave a comment if there's anything that you think that I am doing wrong, anything you think that I can improve on. Please, you can be as mean as you want in that comment section. I'm going to read it, I'm going to take it to the heart, and hopefully I can improve on what I'm doing. But that's it, and our first player that we're going to be talking about is playing for the Texas Rangers. It's going to be Joey Gallo, who right now has an average draft position in high-stakes leagues of 156 overall. And, I mean, he has been on fire. He's only had 16 at-bats, and he is leading spring training with 5 home runs, 9 RBIs. Now, obviously, with Joey Gallo, this is a player that he's pretty much power or nothing. That's all he is going to provide you. If we go over real quick to what Fantasy Pros is projecting for him for the 2021 season, I mean, they have him for 515 at-bats, a batting average of 222, a slugging, though, of 496, and 39 home runs for the 2021 season. Now, I'll say a few things here. No, this is not an ad by Fantasy Pros. I've said this so many times before, but I don't know enough about fantasy baseball to make my own projections. By no means am I a fantasy baseball expert, so we are just going to go online, use the free projections available to us given by Fantasy Pros to kind of see what other people are thinking about these players for the upcoming season. And obviously, if you're drafting Joey Gallo, you're going, you know what? I am just looking for home runs. I am just looking for RBIs. I need the power in my lineup, especially if you're playing in a 5x5 rotisserie league. Because outside of that, he's not going to be providing you much, but obviously, it is a great thing to see. If you've already drafted Joey or you're considering doing so soon, while it doesn't make the biggest difference in the world, if you're drafting a player going, you know what, he has home run potential, of course, you're going to love to see in 16 at-bats in spring training, 5 of them were homers. Okay, so now let's go to our next player that we're going to be talking about, going way later in drafts at 294 overall. This is going to be Peterson for the Chicago Cubs. And very similar to Gallo. I mean, he has been on fire. 19 at-bats and 5 home runs. That is absolutely ridiculous. Also a batting average of 579. And yes, small sample, blah, blah, blah. But still, you love to see it, especially for a player that you want him to have that high slugging. You want him to have those high home runs, which Fantasy Pros is currently projecting. They're projecting him to have 461 at-bats, a 243 average, a 482 slugging, and 28 total homers on the season. So, of course, we are going to love to see the 5 homers from Peterson during spring training. All right, so now let's go over to our next player. Going to be playing for Boston right now, and this is going to be Bobby Dalbec, who right now has the average draft position of 279 overall. And here, pretty much home run or strikeout with Bobby. I mean, in 20 at-bats so far in spring training, 11 of them have been Ks, 4 of them have been home runs, and this is what Fantasy Pros is projecting. Very similar. I mean, all of these players that have kind of stood out at the beginning of training camp with the home runs they provided, I mean, we understand that they are players that are pretty much all power, nothing really else. And here with Bobby, I mean, Fantasy Pros has him projected in 2021 for 446 at-bats, 236 for his average, a 461 slugging, and 27 home runs. Now, let's switch it over a little bit. Let's stop talking about these guys that are hitting for power. Let's start talking about another thing that is so hard to find in fantasy baseball, especially for those 5x5 rotisserie leagues. It's going to be stolen bases, where we're going to be going over to Washington with Victor Robles, who right now has an ADP of 154 overall. And he has been on base 9 times so far in spring training, and he has been able to accrue 4 stolen bases. Now, that is obviously ridiculous. Obviously, you're not going to be projecting anything close to that rate for the full season. And yes, we can say, hey, it's spring training. This is what teams are going to do. They're going to be a little bit more aggressive. They want to see how things are going to work out. So they're probably sending him on some pitches that they wouldn't be during the regular season. But still, we know that Fantasy Pros has him projected in 2021 to see a total of 23 stolen bags. So a big part of his ADP going about the 14th, 15th round is the fact that you are going to be projecting him to be able to rack up some stolen bases. We know that's going to make a difference with your overall construction if you can fill that category that definitely needs help. So very similar to someone like Joey Gallo that we talked at the very beginning. Yes, I mean, it's not everything to see the fact that someone you're drafting for stolen bases has already had 4 so far this spring training, but it's nice to see. It's just a little bit of a pat on the back. It's saying, you're good, man. You're good. Let's keep it going. All right, so let's talk about one more player here, then we can end the video. Let's talk about Willy Castillo for the Detroit Tigers, who has an ADP of 235. And here, he's a little bit all over the place. I mean, he's been providing you a decent amount of everything, where he's had 20 at-bats, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 8 hits. So, yes, this is, of course, not going to be expected to maintain. But it's nice to see Fantasy Pros in 2021 has him projected to see 469 at-bats, a 270 average, and a 420 slugging. Now, guys, please go down to the comment section. Let me know what you think of these guys. Let me know what you think of their spring training performances so far. If we should be taking anything from it, if we should just be completely ignoring it, or maybe it gives us a little bit of confirmation. You go, you know what? We're drafting someone for some power. So, of course, we are going to like to see 5 home runs in about 19 plate appearances. That is going to check some boxes. That's going to reassure us. Or it's Mason. It's spring training. None of this matters. Shut your mouth and let's talk about something else. So please let me know down in that comment section below what end of the spectrum you're on. And yeah, that's it. I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.